It is instructive that you use that situation because, and I raised it. We did attempt to reach the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs to get the take on this. The best information we have at hand, is what was the Immigration Authority, the reason for one denying the entry. The minister, after speaking with his counterpart in Jamaica, reviewed that internal investigation. He agreed with that investigation that no immigration officer did anything untoward. So that is not in question. No, I think what seems to have aggravated this situation is the contention of them being made to stay on the cold ground. In addition to the backdrop, as you know, this is not the first time Trinidad and Tobago had a problem. We had a problem in 2014. We had a problem in 2013. But when you look at and we will go into that later on, the numbers of Jamaicans who are in here and the small percentage at any one point going to its highest level of 4.2, and those who are coming that are being refused. There is not a pattern of discrimination, not from the numbers, but a statement like this disturbs everyone, and that's why I ask you what information you had on that. Your experience, however, say that you have seen this before.
Yes, and even with the Immigration Detention Center, I would say for a fact it's not as bad as the remand yard, but for a place where they put persons who have not committed any crime, it is like a jail. All right, I think the facility is supposed to hold about 200 and something, and there's over 500 persons in that facility. It is a hazard in itself. All right, but I say this in the context of if we are to promote CARICOM relations, but you are keeping persons. And I have had clients who are willing to leave, but they have to hold up for what you call a special inquiry. Now, immigration is undermanned, severely undermanned. Special inquiries take up to 3 to 6 months to start a special inquiry because you need one of the most senior immigration officers, they call them an immigration officer 4, to commence the special inquiry. Now, if it is these persons are not put on what you call an order of supervision, then the only alternative for you is to incarcerate them in the detention center up until you make a decision. All right, and even in the decision-making process, as a practicing attorney, I myself have a qualm with it. It's one immigration officer prosecuting and the same immigration officer sentencing. So he reads them and asks the questions in terms of the offense that they have committed. Then the attorney on the next side, who represents them, makes his case for his client. And then he himself, the same immigration officer, makes the decision as to whether to deport them, whether to allow them to stay. So in itself, it is not a properly constituted tribunal.
You will agree too that all over the world you have this problem of folks complaining about conditions when in fact I'm not seeking to excuse anything. I'm just saying it is a problem. Detention centers is a problem that goes on forever. I want to stay back and that is a point that we may want to explore at another time. I just want to clarify something before I bring in the two other guests. I have one from Jamaica and one from the United States on the same topic, so I'll ask you to hold on with us for the hour. But before we do that, there is the call from the president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, the Pt.2. His name is Mr. Mahfoud. He is the one who led the charge asking for a boycott of Trinidad and Tobago products. Now, he said it is not singularly the one of immigration here, but to me, he conflated this situation with the question of trade. However, he did refer to the Caribbean Court of Appeal decision back in October 2013.
With the Barbados
right. Not Barbados, but in Trinidad and Tobago, where the court ruled that the Jamaicans, 13 persons who were denied entry to Trinidad and Tobago, were not in fact given, as they put it, a written reason for denying them and or advising them of their right to challenge and or giving them access to an attorney or to somebody from their consulate.
They never give written reasons. Never.
They never do.
They tell you straight, you know what you have to do, counsel. And obviously what we do, we file judicial reviews and we file the matter in the High Court.
But I speak in terms of the person who has refused entry.
They don't give written reasons.
They don't give any.
I tell you, we have over 50 clients in terms of immigration clients. Some being CARICOM national, some European, some African. But at the end of the day, when we ask for written reasons, the only way we get a written reason is if we go to the High Court. And not all clients can afford to go to prosecute the matter to that level.
Are the immigration authorities obligated to give you that?
Yes, they are. They are. If they abide by due process and the laws of our jurisdiction, anyone who is convicted. Say, for example, you have been convicted of working without a work permit, and thereby they send you before the special inquiry to decide what to do with you. What in itself, for your right to appeal, you need to know what went on. So, for example, if I decided to represent myself on my own, and I am a CARICOM national, I could not afford one of the Trinidadian attorneys to represent me at the tribunal. But subsequent to it, I decide I want to appeal. How are you to instruct your attorney? On what basis are you going to appeal if there are no reasons for the decision? And yes, I agree with the Caribbean Court of Justice that written decisions should be given.
But they are not, unfortunately. We're going to take a break and come back with our guest, Attorney Farai Hove-Masaisai. In addition to, we should be joined by Jamaica at that point. That coming up. While we await being joined by our guest from the United States, let me just come back to you, Attorney, and just deal with this question of this problem, because clearly it is a problem for the moving forward of the CSME. We already have a lot of challenges dating way back to the Federation all the way up to today. So what you want to do is have situations that can make it as easy as possible to have this situation work. Is this a problem unique to Trinidad and Tobago, the whole question of interpreting the prereqs of the CSME or the law that is the CSME, and if not Trinidad and Tobago being exclusive, what is the problem with the interpretation?
No. What I would say, once your economy is attractive, you would attract your CARICOM neighbors wanting to their citizens wanting to set up in Trinidad. What we can do as a government is probably be a little more proactive, either through our Ministry of Trade or Ministry of Foreign Affairs or even our Ministry of Tourism, in terms of proactively advancing our criteria for entry. And I wouldn't say our criteria, but the CARICOM's criteria for entry into other CARICOM national member states. All right. Yes, the information is on the website, but we could probably do a little more. All right, so that once our neighbors decide, say a citizen of Jamaica decides that, here, what, I am going to try to make a life for myself in Trinidad, because let's face it, I have had first-hand experience with Jamaica, it being the home country of my spouse, and with regards to Trinidad, they see it as an opportunity to set up their business, an opportunity to actually work if they have their degrees. So what we can do is actually partner with their either their High Commission or whoever, and educate their citizens as to what is the criteria, what immigration officers look for when you come to our jurisdiction, you know, and so that it will be easier for them to come in, and those embarrassing situations would hopefully cease, be a things of the past. But the immigration officers are within their right if it is, say, for example, I have come through Piaco and I said I'm staying by person A, and the immigration officer calls person A and they say, they're not aware of you coming in. You know, make sure there's someone there to meet you at the airport, to greet you, you know, that sort of thing. So it's easier for them to make a decision in your favor. All right, because there seems to be that there is this prejudice against Jamaicans, but I really, once you have your paperwork in order, there's normally no issue coming through Piaco Airport.
Yeah, there seems to be this misinterpretation, and I think it's a misinterpretation of what goes on with Jamaicans, because if you look at the number of them arriving and you look at the denial rate,
4%, correct?
Yeah, 4% at max, right? And you look at that and you see that, no, you could not possibly be speaking in terms of a bias against Jamaicans. I mean, the evidence does not support that at all.
Correct.
Now, you did mention that we have a big problem with the question of how we treat detainees.
Yes.
And so that is a bigger picture for Trinidad and Tobago. Speak to that some more, please, because it is not only in this case. This has already soured the relationship here, but it's not just in this case. No, there is a bigger picture here.
Correct, and I think that they really need to look into it. I know we are going through a financial recession, economic recession right now, and I suppose our detention centers are way down on the list in terms of priorities. But in terms of if we look at it from a perspective of of trade. If it is that someone has had a bad experience in your country and they go back to their country and they tell their friends and they tell their citizens and their persons about this bad experience, obviously it will affect the way our manufacturers and our distributors do business in that jurisdiction. Our detention centers, it's a matter of record. It's in a deplorable state. It's overcrowded. I don't know. They really need to look at it. We have to understand that it's not a jail. These persons are not convicted of any crime or anything like that. So to have them in circumstances that resembles a jail, then it is that obviously then it will affect our, especially if they are CARICOM nationals. I'm telling you, we have clients in there that are willing to buy their ticket to leave. But because of the procedure, and I respect the law, they must have a special inquiry first. And it is a fact that the immigration department is undermanned. There's not enough senior immigration officers to carry out the inquiries, and the persons, they just wait. They have to wait, So that's the unfortunate situation there. They have to wait, but the conditions in which they have to wait, it's not very nice.
Farai Hove-Masaisai is my guest. We are talking about the situation with our immigration system. We're talking about the tensions at the same time. And when we talk in terms of the Jamaicans not being singled out, you look at the numbers, and this is the basis for it. At the end of the day, everyone can opine, but you remain on the discussion list. And in this case, in Jamaica's instance, we are looking at, for 2010, at the number of people who arrived here and how many were refused. Jamaicans admitted in 2010. We are talking about, 13,534. And of that, we had 4% being refused. You go all the way down to 2011, you're looking at 13,964 were allowed entry, 597 only were denied entry. That is the height we had it at the 4.1%. We going to New York now? Is this New York we have? Okay, let us put this on the line right now. And joining us, and Attorney Masaisai will stay with us. Joining us this morning is Erwin Clare, who is a broadcaster out of New York City, and he's also an advocate. He's also the holder of a Order of Distinction from the government of Jamaica for his work he has done in the area of immigration. The reason we're heading out there is because a big part of this battle is taking place on the internet, and nobody is more savvy or energetic than Jamaicans, as they are called. Mr. Erwin Clare, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and your listeners, and good morning, Trinidad from Jamaica.
It is good.
United States of America.
Jamaica in the United States of America, yes. My guest this morning is Attorney Farai Hove-Masaisai. Erwin Clare, you have been at this for over 20 years. You are known as the advocate in America, the advocate in America for the Jamaican and Caribbean diaspora. We have worked on a number of projects before. It is truly good to have you here. What I do want to know is, with social media doing the lead it is doing right now, as you can give us a feeling of what is the feeling of Jamaicans on this question of, one, the deportation issue, and in addition to that, the question of the boycott that is being called for in Jamaica, seeing that so much money goes to Jamaica from Jamaicans. They have a big say in what happens in Jamaica. What is the feel you have out there?
This is the takeaway from social media. It also empowers the weak. And I say that from a standpoint, and I should say weakling. I say that from a standpoint that social media allows for many words to be said in an unchallenged environment, except for other words.
Yes.
Where it lacks the type of, authority to act on behalf of a people in a manner seen as respectful. And that is not to say we undermine the responsibility of social media. It also has its positive. This is one time when I think the asylees are in charge of the asylum. And that's where the problem now begins, because I have to say this, as a Jamaican, a young man born, still call myself young, as a man born from the greatest parish in Jamaica, St. Anne, the parish of Bob Marley and Marcus Garvey. What we see happening now are not what these men stood for. And these men stand head and shoulders in what we aspire for in life. And it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate because situations have been allowed to spiral out of control. And as such now has bred a lot of venom, a lot of vitriol, and we're going to have to take it back because at the end of the day, we are one people.